Hello again everyone, this is the final chapter of service battery charging system light. So this is the final chapter, the alternator. So this is the alternator I ordered from the eBay. I ordered my everything on eBay. They are much cheaper and they guarantee the fitting. So this is the new alternator. As you can see, there are three mounting parts, and then this bolt, electricity, and this socket right there. So I'm gonna pop it, the hood, and I'm gonna go open the hood, and there is the alternator. I already disconnected when I was doing the starters earlier, so I disconnected this and disconnected the socket. And I'm gonna remove those 15mm bolts, and I need to remove this air cabin filter compartment because it's out of the way to get to those bolts underneath. So while we're doing this work, only thing we need to do underneath the car is to secure this oil pan. So it's about 7 by 10 in measurements. So I'm gonna use this old shelf plank. It's a 9 inches wide, and I'm gonna cut it into 7 inches pieces, 2 pieces, because this is just a press wood. So now I secured it, and when I go up there, like if I remove all those things, this compartment will fall down the ground. So first we're gonna remove this air filter compartment, and this socket comes off quite easy, and this one also comes off quite easily, and not with one hand though. So we disconnect this, we disconnect this. After that, we're going to disconnect that part, and we're going to loosen that up. And there are 3 clips that holding the cover of the air filter cabin. And right there, this is the engine air filter. It looks pretty good to me. It's not that bad to change it. And this could be a recommendation if you're doing that anywhere. They're gonna recommend if you want to change your filter. So now that I'm gonna start working on these 6 bolts. This is one whole piece. The 6 bolts, when you remove it, this whole piece comes out pretty annoyingly. And this is the throttle body. If they are doing this work, they're gonna recommend throttle body to be cleaned. Most likely it's gonna be a good recommendation, and you just need to remove that 10mm socket, bolt from there. So this is just a nut, and I have this organizing little baskets, and I removed those 3 things that mounting that piece. And you cannot take that piece by itself. It looks it's on its own, but it is really not. So underneath that hose, this is a antifreeze hose. So if you want to take it off, you can, but you're gonna have a whole bunch of antifreeze gonna be going down onto the that compartment. So if you want to, it's a tight place, you can work it like that. I worked it like that, loosen it up and then take it off. And you need to take off the middle one first, otherwise it's going to be getting blocked. Engine going to be going low, and it's going to be getting blocked. So I removed those pieces, and now there are 3 pieces. These are all 15mm, but these are 18mm, 3 of them. And they are all solid aluminum kind of piece, but they are really solid and sturdy. After that, you got another challenge coming, and that's the tensioner. There's a 1/2 inch ratchet housing right there that's gonna loosen up the tensioner. And you also need to remove that bolt, and that bolt comes out with a whole piece. And then if you have a small ratchet, you can try find a whole pipe to loosen up the tensioner. It's pretty tight. So after that, you're going to remove that piece, and that's the last piece holding the alternator to the body, and that's the whole part that comes out. So this is the old and new alternator next side by side, and they are exactly the same. Before you put the new alternator into the engine compartment, you need to make sure that last mounting piece that you had, it goes together with the alternator. Otherwise, is a tight place is not gonna fit. So after doing all that and bolting the alternator, and next comes the tensioner, and so I didn't pay attention to serpentine's belt configuration. It's firm now, but this is from the user manual. You can find the configuration. It's pretty easy to follow. It's not that complicated. It's just 7 pulleys down there, including the alternator. So after that, I'm gonna connect this bolt and that cable that connects to the alternator, and then once that is done, I'm gonna connect the other piece, the socket, right there, and that's it with the alternator. And now I'm gonna put this piece back, and this piece is a big piece. So all you need at this point is patience. Nothing else that you really need, because you know how it's gonna go. It's really annoying how tight the places are, but it has to be. Otherwise, the cars is gonna be a lot bigger, because they have to make it as compact as possible. Otherwise, the structure is not gonna be viable, and they're gonna have to use more parts to hold all those weights together. So I am now mounting those 3 18mm bolts together with that large piece, and I'm going to use electric socket for that. I mean electric ratchet, not socket, because it's gonna kind of minimize my muscle work. And then this is the last piece. Not last piece altogether. And now that that was the complete, and here's the mistake that I made when I was connecting this. So that's what I'm saying. You have to be patient with this job, because it's tight places and you get annoyed easily. So what I did was connect that part first and thought that will be fine. But what happened, that other part kind of looked like a V, or like kind of looked like a hilltop, whatever you think it's looked like. The holes, like now I'm gonna try to to mount that bolt there, is not happening because the holes are not lining up. So that was the mistake I made. So instead I loosely connected all of them, kind of screw them all loosely. After that I used the power tool to tighten them up. And now since I'm here, I'm gonna look into the throttle body, and it's really easy to do that. There are 4 bolts there. You can see all around that circle there are 4 holes. You need to remove that with a 10mm thing, and then there is a socket there. And you pull that white thing out and then push it on top, kind of like let me use my 2 hands so I can take him out easily. And once you take that out, this is the throttle body, and what it does is kind of regulates the air that goes into the engine, and it builds those black parts are all build up carbon. And now I clean it, it doesn't look as bad. Now put it back with those four 10 millimeter bolts. Now I'm gonna connect the hose, and that's the hose belt. And then after that, see what comes next, because we're done with the connecting the alternator. This has nothing to do with alternator, like throttle body has nothing to do with alternator work, but since you removed it already, it's better to do it. Is an easy job. And there are three push pins there. You don't have to remove anything. I did a mistake of removing them, but it's not something we need to do because those are rubber rubber things that just pop into place, and you can use your two hands. And I'm holding the phone with my one hand, and I'm not gonna do that. And once I pushed with my two hands, now it's firmly mounted there, and now I'm gonna put the engine air filter. And once I did that, I'm gonna put the cover on top, and cover has three latches, one there, and one behind in right there. You clip those clips, and then we're gonna do the connections that we undid earlier, this one and that one. And now connecting the battery. First a negative, and this also uses 10 millimeter. And then the positive, also 10 millimeter. Okay, I'm kind of feeling nervous because I did all this work. Let's see what's gonna happen. I'm gonna cover the battery part. Okay, moment of truth. So this is a great sign because this car had no life in it, no power whatsoever. So every time I disconnect the battery, it says open and close the driver window. And once you do that, and it says open and close the passenger window, and you do that, and then it clears it up.
Hell yeah, 14.6. That's what I'm talking about, baby. That's what I'm 14.7, 14.6. That's what I'm talking about. That's how you do the work by yourself. That's it, man. Thank you for watching, guys.
Now my car has a new battery, new starter, and new alternator. Fraction of a cost of dealership or a mechanic. That's what DIY is.